Welcome to The Line. There's a lot of uncertainty across the country now about how immigration enforcement might change under the Trump administration. Now, where do you stand on this issue of immigration enforcement? What's most important to you when it comes to immigration policy? Get in touch with us here by visiting NewMexicoInFocus.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter. Now, I'm joined at the table this week by former State Representative Janice Arnold-Jones is here. Former State Senator Dee Dee Feldman is here. Vicki Harrison from Common Cause New Mexico is with us. And Mary T. Torres, she's an attorney at the law offices of Mary T. Torres. Love it. Now, Mary, starting with you, let's talk about this immigration order. This came from the Trump administration this week. What are they doing with this new order that they couldn't do in the last one? What are the legal differences here? Start us there.
Sure. Well, they really are enforcing a law that has been in effect for 15, 16 years, but since 2002, under the Clinton administration, followed by Bush and then President Obama, they weren't enforcing certain portions, particularly with regard to how long immigrants have been in here, in the country, and the border area. So before it was, we're really not going to mess with immigrants if you are more than 100 miles away from a border, or if you've been here less than 2 weeks. Now we're enforcing it everywhere, and it's 2 years. 2 years is the limit. If you've been here under 2 years, you can't prove that you've been here more than 2 years, then we're going to enforce it. So that's one of the big differences. So far, they're not working with the undocumented children, so that's that one, which is
Dreamers are safe, so to speak.
Exactly, and that was enacted under President Obama. So far that's good, which is good because we've got 10,500 here in New Mexico, so that part is pretty good. But we'll see what's happening, and then it's also for any crime, anything that you've done, and a crime is, well, if you're here illegally. So it's really anything. Before it was just focusing on violent criminals. Gotcha. So those are some big changes, and just what happened last week in Albuquerque with ICE being right outside of courthouses, et cetera. That has been very problematic.
Sure. Yeah. Pick up on that, Senator, if you would. You know, as Mary's mentioning and all the news is mentioning, it's really not about violent crime, as we're hearing from the president. It's really about any crime at this point that can get
this really raises, this is a sweeping order, and because it's people accused of crimes. It's people that may have applied for benefits unknowingly, and it's people that are already being detained, being deported without a hearing. So this raises a lot of due process questions, I think, that really need to be answered, and until they are, I think there's going to be really widespread fear. There is fear already, we can see it. People are moving, people are not going out, people are afraid of just being accused of something. They're afraid now to go to the police, and then they become victims of crime. So it's a very scary thing.
Vicki, let me pick up on that with you as well. The idea that our mayor has come out and said he is not going to instruct APD to, be careful with my language here, but work hand in hand with ICE in general terms. We've already got sanctuary city status for Santa Fe. We've got to stand there. Bringing it to a New Mexico place, what should New Mexicans worry about with this new order?
Well, I think, as it was just said, this is a sweeping new order. This is very, very different than what was being enforced a month ago. And I think that's where, as Dee Dee says, we have this fear, and which is palpable in our community. And I think that, you know, we've talked about in Albuquerque with the crime rates going up, the police department not being fully staffed. Do we even have the resources? I mean, I try to think about it even from a practical point, whether you want the police to do this or not, whether you want the state to do this or not, do we even have the resources or the manpower to do this when we are not focusing on violent criminals? That's who we should be focusing on across the board.
Because some of these are civil offenses. They're not necessarily felony offenses. I mean, civil offenses is pretty easygoing stuff.
It's exactly. It's not somebody who's raping or murdering someone.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to for us here right now.
Okay.
We have a scarcity mentality right now because we have no money. And that's just the reality of it. And let's be smart about it. You know, one of the things that these new orders are going to call for is a bunch more detention centers, a lot more border patrol, a lot more ICE agents.
5,000, 10,000
Where
respectively.
is that money coming from?
Right, right. Interesting. Janice, let me get to you on this one. Of course, a law is being broken if you are in the country illegally. And where is the line for your particular comfort set on who is deportable or not? Is there a line for you, or is it just simply there if you're in the country illegally at this point?
Well, I would say, so one, let me just start with, when you set up laws and then you selectively choose not to enforce them, you create fear and confusion. And I don't care what kind of law it is, because you don't know what the standard is. But for me, I want people to come to our country legally, and I want them to want to be U.S. citizens. And so I have a very specific solution for the DACA students, which we'll talk about.
Okay.
But as I look at what is happening with our Border Patrol agents, and also what the media is doing in terms of frightening people, you know what, this isn't right. It is not right. The changes in the laws were there, as Mary said, and yet we're talking about enforcing them. But listen to the executives. They are prioritizing violent criminals. Make no mistake. But Jean, you made a very good point. If you come into the country and you re-enter the second time, that becomes a felony. Right. And it's not the felony we're talking about. We're talking about drug cartels.
Right.
Sure.
I am convinced that that is what they're going to go after. But in terms of frightening our population, if you need to make arrangements, then perhaps you should. It's going to take a long time to get to a family that has been here 30 years, whose children are legal. And I'm telling you what, they're not going to deport those people. They are not.
Well, but you hear stories about
What happened in
people who are
Arizona
the ICE looking for some person, and they come across somebody else. Bam! Those people are gone.
And the worst thing is that the anecdotal stories that are horrific. And as I was
Those are
talking
the ones that are reported.
to my daughter about a JPL employee who went overseas, he is of Mexican descent, and the ICE folks did a terrible thing. They actually demanded to look at his cell phone that had sensitive government information on it. That was all completely wrong. That is a 1%. And so we can't let just the anecdotal things drive what we're doing.
Okay. Mary, let me ask you this. You know, as I'm hearing it, it seems part of the problem, and ACLU has talked about this as well, is it leaves the police on the street back to the place of judge and jury.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There's now curbside justice happening.
Because they have a lot of
Exactly.
a lot of discretion.
Please pick up on that.
Yeah, they
Exactly
do.
right.
They have a lot of discretion, and that's pretty scary. And what's concerning is that a lot of these individuals that are caught can be just sent back without having a judge decide the issue.
That was a due process.
That's the whole point. And you know, in reading and preparing for this, and reading some of the comments, a lot of New Mexicans are thinking, well, you know, the people are here illegally. Our Constitution doesn't apply to them, et cetera. Well, it does, because through the 14th Amendment, which says any person, they are entitled to due process, they are entitled to life, they're entitled to liberty, they're entitled to equal protection. Any person that's subject to the jurisdiction of our courts. Well, we want them to be subject to the jurisdiction of our courts because we want to make sure and kick them out.
That's right.
Okay, so that's, I think that's what the issue is, and having so much discretion for law enforcement officers. But then, picking up on your point, I believe that a lot of Border Patrol agents are going, finally, we can now enforce this law as written. And I think that brings clarity to law enforcement officers. I think that it does. But then with trying, was that 287G? Is that what 287G? Right. Which what that will do with law enforcement officers is we'll have APD or the the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Offices or university police can act as immigration agents.
That's right.
Okay, and that's what that statute is,
change,
and
yeah.
that's a big change. But a lot of agencies aren't going to be
No.
following
That's
that, and
right.
and it's harmful,
That's
I
right.
think, for law enforcement here
right.
to do that
right.
because you do rely on.
Oh, absolutely, but make no mistake, the order coming out of Homeland Security very clearly says that it will only engage with law enforcement agencies that are willing and qualified.
Sure,
So
if they're willing to do it.
You know, if they're not willing to do it, then
right.
they're not going to waste their time. But Mary said something that's really important.
Okay.
And as we go forward, dealing with fear, we are understaffed, and I think Border Patrol is actually very glad that some of this is happening. But the ramp-up time, I'm telling you what, when you bring 15,000 people into the system, if you think that's happening overnight, it ain't happening. You know,
good point. That's a very
a
good
year,
point.
best case, and that's if they're brilliant, and
Yeah.
I don't see that.
Do me a favor, Janice, you mentioned DACA a second ago. Could you bring that back real quick? We got about a minute and a half. I want to get everyone's thoughts on DACA and Dreamers. What's your thought there?
You know what, I have for the longest time believed that we should not penalize children.
Okay.
And I know that there are more issues about parents, but I sincerely believe that if we have children, and I'm a going forward kind of person,
Right.
but if we have children in our school system, for crying out loud, make sure that that naturalization course is available their senior year. I think they should walk across the stage and get their diploma and their citizenship. I think
Interesting.
that is a
Well, that's
much
a
better
great idea.
solution
Right.
to
Yeah.
DACA than anything else.
Right.
I'm not sure I'm buying the 31-year-old age limit, but as a going forward,
Yeah.
this to me makes sense.
Right.
Pick up on that,
I
Vic?
want
That's
U.S.
fair.
citizens.
What do you think of that idea? Yeah.
Well, obviously, I mean, to me, it's complete insanity to think that we would deport someone who was brought here as a child, doesn't know any other country, any other language, has no family. And I think that's where, you know, some of the fear is coming from. And that may be part of the media. It may be part of, you know, just seeing the photos of folks with ICE jackets on
all it
in
takes.
neighborhoods. I mean, if it's going to take a long time to ramp up, it just seemed like it exploded that first week. And that's where I think a lot of the fear comes from is, you know, we're told, oh, it's not going to happen overnight. But by the way, here's this woman hanging out in a church who's
right.
been here since she was 14
That's right.
Right.
and is being threatened with being deported. And, you know, so I think that
That was
the
the one in
idea that
Arizona.
anybody who was brought here as a child is going to be returned somewhere is, I mean, it's ludicrous to me.
There's that, but
Right.
you know, I think our immigration policy should focus on individuals who want to be U.S. citizens.
There you go. Let's finish with the senator. real
Well, you
quick.
know, the
Sorry.
state of New Mexico and the legislature has weighed in on this already. When we gave students the opportunity to qualify for the lottery scholarship, even though they were undocumented.
That's right, too.
This was our way of saying they are part of our future. And in New Mexico, I think that's really true. I'm more worried about some of the other populations rather than the DACA population. For example, the thousands of medical professionals that are in the pipeline here, that are residents, that are studying gastroenterology or are primed to become primary care doctors in our rural areas. Some of these people are here on visas, J1 visas, and others, and they are all in jeopardy too.
We'll have to end it there. Now, when we come back to the line, we'll talk about ethics in government.